No puedo creer lo que estoy a punto de decir, pero la realidad supera la ficción y en este vídeo puedo compartir que he tenido la oportunidad de entrevistar y grabar la entrevista a uno de los fundadores de Rockstar Games, el señor Jamie King. Jamie, junto a Sam Houser, Dan Houser y Terry Donovan, fundó en 1998 la compañía de desarrollo de videojuegos que hoy todo el mundo conoce. Fue una pieza principal durante los desarrollos de GTA 3, GTA Vice City, GTA San Andreas e incluso participó parcialmente en el desarrollo de GTA 4 y Red Dead Redemption antes de abandonar la empresa. Jamie King no solo estuvo durante la mejor época, sino que como directivo principal fue testigo y partícipe de todas y cada una de las cosas públicas o secretas que ocurrieron en aquellos años. Es un honor para mí y durante los siguientes minutos vais a escuchar lo que nunca antes se ha contado sobre Rockstar, sobre los hermanos Houser y los secretos del desarrollo y éxito de la saga Grand Theft Auto. Este es un vídeo con edición que incluye muchas de las partes más importantes de la entrevista y estáis a unos instantes de conocer información que sale a la luz por primera vez. Pero además, dentro de unos días podréis disfrutar en el canal de la entrevista completa de 1 hora de duración. Antes de que comience el vídeo me gustaría pediros que si queréis que traiga más contenido de este tipo, podéis suscribiros para apoyar el canal. Y sin nada más que añadir, comenzamos. Gracias por estar con nosotros hoy, Jamie.
It's good to be here. Lo siento mucho por las llamadas anteriores.
¿Qué juego disfrutaste más desarrollando?
San Andreas is always going to be very special. Vice City was the most incredible cultural education experience for all of us. We made it in a year. And the music and the film references and just all the dialogue and the signage and the names and all the parody, it was so focused, and so that is also there. Yeah, I would say San Andreas.
¿Cómo fue la creación de Rockstar Games?
So B&G sold the interactive division to Take Two. Grand Theft Auto 1 was had just been released. Take Two had an office in Windsor, and most of the team, like QA and production, went there. But their head office was in New York, and they said, like, Sam, you got to come out and bring a few people. And that's why I got to go with Sam and Gary Foreman and move to New York. When we got there, Sam had already said to me, go get me Thrasher magazine. We need to make a skateboard game with Z-Axis. And that was the first game I produced. And go get me the Warriors film license, right? We're going to make the Warriors. And I'm like, done. Let's go do this. But Take Two had made a certain type of product. Their branding and their positioning and their reputation, everything was different to us. And we would Sam and I would walk up Broadway to a GameStop, and we'd go in there. And he was amazing. He's like, look at that EA logo. When you look at the EA logo, you know what you're getting as a game. You know what production quality you're getting. You know what kind of gameplay quality you're getting. You know what kind of graphic. We need our own identity. We need our own label. And so it took about a month or two, and then Terry came out, and we were at a roller coaster park when we called it Rockstar Games.
¿Pero por qué el nombre Rockstar?
It comes from Sam Houser's absolute love affair for rock and roll in the 70s and 80s, and being able to name every single music producer, album that was seminal, film director, critical movie, and just loving that whole time frame and like at the way he grew up and his parents' network and his friends and their parents and the whole rock and roll scene and coming from the music industry, which Sam and Terry did ultimately, right, by starting at B&G, and Terry was up at Arista Records. And there was a conversation about, well, like, Sam, you love rock and roll so much, like, let's fucking call it Rockstar, right? And we did. And then the American press were like, go home, go to back. We make games, not music. Who do you think you are? It was reflective of already like a cultural desire to show that games were for grown-ups and not just kids. And that the people that were playing games and making games were actually pretty damn cool. Weren't just nerds. And that video games were going to be like a superior form of entertainment and engagement than movies and music. we're going to make games cool, and we're going to force people to show the respect that should be given to actually the creativity that's being evidenced in the creation and expression of these games, right? And the experience that you have by playing them and having that journey.
¿Cómo hacíais para que no se filtrara nada?
Because you take great pride in having an FBI, CIA level of approach to your cybersecurity. Like, we were militant, both internally, and then we would just be listening and watching online. And we were very, very sensitive to even the discs going to the Sony manufacturing plant to get replicated. I would drive the submission disc to the airport. We'd hand courier them overnight, right, to California to get them, tested. And then we would be paying attention, and then we would be all over it immediately. Within 2 hours, someone's on their door. You fucking stole it, and game over. Yeah. You got to really be Rockstar definitely pays attention.
En Rockstar llevasteis los videojuegos a un nivel imposible hasta ese momento.
Rockstar North, right? The DMA team, what that core group did, and then what the wider group and Leslie Benzies and Adam Fowler and Aaron Garbutt and Sandy Rogers and Oba and Craig and a load of others that are not as important, I'm not naming them. They were on it, right? And even with the PlayStation 2, with 32 megabytes of memory, streaming the content constantly, so we could really kind of artificially break that 32 meg barrier was huge. And they were so good at what they were they really were amazing. Was it perfect code? No. Was it a mess? And yes, but it worked. Right?
Eran buenos tiempos.
Yeah, amazing. I'm 27. I mean, we all lived in the same apartment down on South Street. They had no windows, big apartment, and we were driven and very focused and on a mission, and we really believed in Grand Theft Auto, even when it wasn't in 3D, right, which the American gaming audience struggled with at first. The sensibility, the dialogue, what you were doing, the freedom, you could just run around a map and pick up vehicles and drop them off at will and have guns and just go off piste and just, make up gameplay as you went. We always felt that was something special. And then we got super excited when the PlayStation 2 came out, right, with the vector units, and we could actually get into 3D, have all the neighborhoods and the pedestrians and the life, right, and the kind of grit and atmosphere of what is GTA.
¿Cuál era la influencia que tenía Take Two sobre las decisiones de Rockstar en aquel momento?
No. They weren't allowed on our floor unless it was the CEO. We worked on the side, just helped get it finished, cleaned up, ran it through QA, got Sony to approve it, right? And so, there was a very good relationship at the same time, especially with Sam and Terry and Dan and getting myself, you're not going to tell us how to do this. You're not going to mess this up. And we're going to tell you how it is, right? And as long as we turn up with a blockbuster hit, right?
¿Crees que Take Two sigue sin interferir en Rockstar ahora?
It must have changed. It must be so big, just running GT Online. They're printing money. And at the same time, the company's really evolved and the Rockstar brand has evolved, right? And it is different now to when I was there. So it's matured. So, and I have no idea what it's like now, but I'm sure it is very different.
¿Hablabais de si la violencia de vuestros juegos era demasiado, quizá?
Yes, we were very aware of what we were doing, and we cared deeply about the content that we made. One of the things about everyone in the early days at Rockstar New York and around, we really cared, and we really wanted to make beautiful, excellent content, right? And just give our best every day. So, and we did take the criticism personally. We did feel it, and we did have to question our morals and our compass, and but we never ever lost sight of actually freedom of speech, and this is good, funny, clever, engaging entertainment, not actually encouraging antisocial behavior, right?
Jamie, la gran pregunta. ¿Por qué Claude Speed no habla?
I think it was a thing that Claude Speed got named, got to be called Claude, right? It was still like you playing the game, you're the protagonist, you're like the hero, and there was something so raw and pure about it. We weren't in a hurry to like really identify it so much, right? And name it and have him be a speaking character. But that grew and changed, right? Because I think when you think about the roots of Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2, and it's about the map and about the vehicle, and you as a little sprite character don't matter so much as what you're doing. So it's very much about everything that you're doing and the things that you're interacting with and the people and what they're saying, right? And therefore, like your experience, rather than, oh, I'm the hero character and I'm called Claude. And
Sabemos que en aquel momento hicisteis algunas cosas ilegales. Algunas no pueden ser compartidas, claro, pero ¿puedes contarnos alguna?
My car story with Midnight Club is that I made friends with the illegal street racing scene, and I went to Washington and I met Dustin, who had the red and the yellow cars. And I went to some illegal street races and we connected, and then we got them to bring the cars to New York. Then we didn't have any permits, and I had these crazy editors, cameramen. We just raced up and down First Avenue, Third Avenue, up and down the streets of Manhattan to create a load of the footage. Cameraman's hanging out the door, like the window of one car. We're just racing, all illegal to be part of the vibe. And then we shut down Times Square and had the cars and the cop car and did the whole packaging, I think, for the first one, maybe.
Hay un rumor que dice que una vez, en el E3, se encontraron pastillas de MDMA con el logo de Rockstar. ¿Es esto cierto?
That we gave out MDMA as like marketing promotional materials.
Falsas.
I'm sure. We made knuckle dusters and baseball bats and like koshes and mace and all kinds of stuff, right? Like silver razor blades for chopping up cocaine and like all of that. We loved all of the paraphernalia, right? Maybe. Yeah, right. We made some promotional items that we can't even mail. You couldn't even send to people. It's like...
Sé que esto te lo preguntarán mucho, pero el hot coffee, ¿cómo fue toda la controversia?
It was a really big thing, and it was a really big distraction to our focus. And it's a shame. But I think in a way it was like the pinnacle of the debate around video game content. Right? We thought it would be the funniest thing to have, like, remember Track and Field, the arcade game? Right? Did you ever play Track and Field?
Sí, creo que sí.
Right, where you have to like run and do the long jump and throw the javelin. And so we wanted, like, can you imagine if you could be like pumping, right? Like sex mini game. Funny. And it was the ESRB who said no, like that would give you an AO rating. And I think at the Supreme Court level, 3D interpretations of naked bodies or sexual acts was like classed as pornographic, right? Or obscene. And so we didn't have time to take all the content out of the code base. So we just unhooked it. And that's when it came out on PC, that the PC mods were like, oh, what's that in the sky? Oh, hook. And then those videos broke, right? And then we didn't help with our initial answers. right? I don't think we were like, oh, it was all us. I think the way we spoke about it made it sound like, oh no, it was the mod community, like we passed the buck. And the FCC were onto us anyway. They really wanted to prove that we were somehow tricking everybody and were marketing this mature title to like young kids, which we were. Poor Sam and people, like you're being investigated by Washington. It's not a good feeling.
El juego tampoco estaba pensado para niños de todas formas.
Right. I got letters from 11-year-olds that were really articulate, well written. The game is amazing. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if you're meant to be playing. You're only 11. But
¿Cómo ves el éxito de Rockstar hoy en día?
I think they're doing an amazing job. They used to publish games for $60 at retail. You had all the free-to-play models, the MMOs, right? The mobile gaming, microtransactions. They've completely embraced it, right? They've created online versions that are amazing. And GTA 5 is still like one of the most popular, and how many years has it been out? And they're able to keep engaging with fresh content and to monetize that. Brilliant. So of course they're not in a hurry to announce 6. We know something will come, right? I think they did a really good job proving that they're more than a one-trick pony with Red Dead Redemption, right? And leveraging that core technology and sensibility and kind of creative content making that you see in GTAs to Red Dead. From Rockstar's perspective, they're smart to acknowledge just what's possible, right? And it's better to focus on a couple of these mega franchises. And, everyone I talk to says, oh, I love Redemption, or I love 5. And so everyone seems happy.
¿Te gustaría volver a Rockstar ahora?
No. No, I mean, it's like I had an amazing time and I loved it. And it's just, I'll never forget it. No.
¿Cómo es tu relación actual con los Hauser? ¿Seguís en contacto?
No. I mean, we never bump into each other. We don't talk to each other. I mean, it's all cool. You know what I mean? If I bumps into them, be like, oh, what's up? But no. Just very different worlds.
¿Qué opinas de la demanda de Leslie Benzies contra Sam Hauser?
I think it's unfortunate. I think it's a shame and a bit sad. I'm not surprised by any of it. Like I read that lawsuit, right? None of it surprises me on both sides, right? It's a shame. Leslie was dynamite and was just instrumental in growing DMA into Rockstar North and really leading the team that delivered right on the code side. And, when we finished Vice City, right, a few of us, we flew to Anguilla like the next day to plan San Andreas. And it was me and Terry and Dan and Leslie, right? It's like, and, he was, I loved Leslie and he was great. And it's just sad. It's just unfortunate. But, the old days can't stay the same, right? It is all new and they're fine. They've got beautiful systems. They know what they're doing, right? It's like, it's bigger than any one of us.
¿Y qué hay de Dan, que abandonó Rockstar hace un año?
But, you know what? If I had his money, I'd be like, yeah, peace. Yeah, I'm going to go write a book. I might just travel. I mean, right? I mean, how much more does he need to do, right? I have a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Dan writes a book because he's an amazing writer, right? He has a tone and a wit. Like I'd love to see him write a book.
En los últimos tiempos, Rockstar ha tenido muchas salidas. ¿Crees que esto afectará a sus futuros juegos?
Yeah, I think the tone of the content, right? And maybe not, because it's the same engine, right, that I worked on when I was there, the core of it. It's the same content. They've really perfected the systems. So I'd be surprised if gameplay mechanics really got affected. I wouldn't be surprised if the tone starts changing and if it's maybe not quite as edgy or quite as funny. I just think that maybe there's more opportunity for them to do something cheesy because they never do. And maybe not, right? Again, there's a beautiful machine there that you'd have to try really hard to fuck up, right? To screw up. And I just, look at the success of on 5 online and Redemption 2, and I'm like, maybe they're just going to be fine, period. But, I think culturally, internally, both at North and at New York, missing Leslie and Dan, yeah, there's a difference, for sure.
Esta es nuestra última pregunta. ¿Por qué abandonaste Rockstar?
Why? So I left because I thought the situation was one way, and the situation was actually a different way. And the way I found out, I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Just took all the fight. It just took all the excitement out for me. And I was sat with Sam, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. Right? I just don't want to do it. And at that point, we've been working 7 days a week, and I was sort of sacrificing everything for it. And I just felt like life's too short, and there's other things I want to do. And how lucky am I? I worked on 3 and Vice and San Andreas, the beginnings of 4 and Redemption and Midnight Club, Bully, all of it. And I'm like, I'm good. It was personal, but at the same time, I'm like, I understand the terrain that I'm in. And if I don't like it, I need to be the one that moves on, right? I wasn't going to be like, but stay around, and it's just like, nah, I'm good. So I left.
Como fans, como jugadores, muchas gracias por todo lo que hiciste en Rockstar, Jamie.
Thank you, and I'm thrilled that I could be part of something that makes everyone so happy, right? And we get to have conversations like this. So yeah, it's a pleasure. I appreciate your time, and good luck with the channel, and maybe our paths will cross again.
Pues bien, hasta aquí este vídeo en el que habéis escuchado la versión editada de la entrevista a Jamie King, en la que hemos tratado la creación de Rockstar, las relaciones internas, los problemas que se afrontaron durante los desarrollos. Dentro de unos días podréis ver la versión completa con más preguntas, así que estad atentos al canal. Sin más, yo espero os haya gustado, y un saludo y hasta la próxima. Adiós.